I just wanna be happy, happy tonight.
Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Priscilla. I am a Seattle-based flight attendant working with a major US airline company. And as usual, I come to you guys every month, share my schedules with you all, doing a reaction to see what I received, the changes I've made, and my plans moving forward. So in today, I will be reacting to my January 2024 schedule. Yes, the year is over. It's almost over, y'all. We're about to enter a new year, 2024. And so far, I have been on the line for about 8 months now because I was out of probation in October 2023, so we're in December now. So yes, I have been on the line for about 8 months now, but collectively I've been with the company for about 10 months now because training was about 6 weeks. So that's where we are. So let's get into it. As usual, I start off by sharing with you all what I requested for, and then I transition into what I received. Then I ended with what changes I've made so far. So what to expect in today's video is the bids that I made, the trips that I was assigned, the monetary values of those trips, my schedule value with regards to the hours I'll be working, my days off, and essentially how much I'm earning with the schedule that I have. All right. So first of all, one thing that was very new for the month of January, our schedule value for the month of January changed because the industry is set up such that every month is not the same. The amount of hours you are potentially going to be scheduled for is based on business needs and or operational needs. So if the company is projected to not have a lot of business or operational needs in the coming month, then it means you will be scheduled less. If they're expecting more flying to be happening, more business to be coming through, then potentially our schedule values will be more. But I believe it goes up to 90 hours. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. I'm still trying to find that information. I believe I heard or I read somewhere that is up to 90 or whatever. So essentially, our schedule value dropped for the month of January. It dropped to 77 hours plus or minus 6 hours, which means the minimum you can be scheduled for in January would be 77 hours minus 6 hours. And the maximum you can be scheduled for will be 77 hours plus 6 hours, which is about 83 hours. And the minimum then becomes 71 hours. That's how much you can be scheduled for. So let's move into what I bid for. As usual, for the past few months, I've been bidding for the commuter bid of 1. The whole goal of that bid is for the system to schedule me trips together as much as possible so that I can maximize the amount of days, consecutive days off that I have. That's the whole point of that. 2, I bid to avoid flight lead. Once again, I finally did flight lead. And I will say it's not really bad. But before I move on to why I bid to avoid flight lead, let me just say that I greatly appreciated the fact that I was never escalated during my probationary period. I did regular positions the whole time for the 6 months that I was on the line. And then once I got off of probation, 2 months later, on my reserve days, I got a flight lead assigned position on one of the trips that I got during my reserve. And I will say that I greatly appreciated the fact, once again, that I did not get escalated, that I was allowed to be new on the line, go through my 6 months, gradually work first class assist positions, working in conjunction with the flight lead, seeing what was happening, learning the process, observing and all that, to then get out of probation and then being scheduled flight lead. I feel like that process was perfect and it made me working flight lead for the first time feel like nothing at all. Like everything was just flowing as it should. Obviously, the things that I learned in training were coming back to me, but also the fact that I had 6 months to, at least for the most part, observe other people work in that position, and I was no longer having the new hire blues. So it was very easy for me to do it. It was very, 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 very easy. It was super smooth. Like I was so proud of me. I was like, oh, okay. So I was actually paying attention. It was actually really good. I actually enjoyed the peace and the calmness that came with it. And I guess kept reflecting back, and I really appreciated the fact that I was never escalated. I was allowed to be new, to get to the point where I grew my wings and now I could fly, okay? All right, so back to the story at hand. So once again, I still bid to avoid flight lead. It's just automatic. I leave it as it is. Although I had a perfect and a really good experience, I don't go looking for it, but if I do see a trip that I do like, I will gladly pick it up if it has a position. So those of you out there who are new, who are scared, just work as much first class assist positions as you can, because that's what I did when I started. I was working that position a lot so I can observe the flight lead, so that if I do find myself in that position, it would flow easily. And it did, if you get the opportunity to do so as a new hire. Don't think that, oh, it's too much work. It's that. No. Take advantage of it, because that is the one time, that one opportunity that you have to actually observe the flight lead position and see how it's done. Above everything else, once again, I do avoid it. It's part of my bid. No hard feelings. I enjoyed it when I did it the first time, girl. The third thing that I bid for is that this is actually pretty new, and I've been waiting to do this. I waived one of my rules. So I waived the 3 in 9 rules, which is essentially work 9 days or whatever. You should get 3 days off. I think that's what that means. I'm not an expert. I'm not here to go into details, but I waived that rule because I wanted to be scheduled together as much as possible to once again maximize my ability to get more consecutive days off. So I waived one of my rules. I did not waive the 7 in 1 rule or the 1 in 7 rule. I think that's what that is. I didn't waive that. I only waived one rule at a time, y'all. We're not rushing into this. We're taking our time. So I did do that. And honestly, January is a good time to be waiving some of your rules if you really want to, because the schedule value is already low. So whatever happens, you know you're not potentially going to be scheduled a lot of trips anyway. That way you can just test things out. When it comes to the flight attendant schedule, bidding, requesting, or whatever, it's a try and error phase. One month you can try something else. The other month you can try something else. And the beauty of this job is the fact that every month you get to bid for something else. Like, you get to bid again. So when you bid for something, you're not stuck for it for a year. You're stuck with it for just a month. The next month you can try something else, and that's the phase I'm in right now. So beyond that, when it came to the trips that I bid for, the fourth thing that I bid for was high credit 3-day trips, nothing below 25 hours. Obviously I had a range between, I think, 18 to like 25 or 19 to 25. This is once again base specific because my base has very high credit 3-day trips, domestic and international. So that's why I put my maximum at 25. That way I force the system to give me the highest as possible if it's going to schedule me for a 3-day trip. The other thing that I bid for with the 2-day trips is high credit 2-day trips as usual. The maximum I bid up to was up to nothing below 16 hours. So the whole point is that, once again, bid for the highest credit as possible so that I can get anything close to it. That's the whole idea as well. The other thing also is with regards to 1-day trips, I bid for nothing below 10 hours because our base typically, I mean, we even have 11 hours, but this time around I reviewed our big package and noticed that we did not have, I didn't see anything at 12 or 13 or whatever. So I think I limited it to 10 or 11 hours, nothing below that. Once again, same rule applies. The goal is to ask the system the highest possible so that I get something as close to it as possible. Then I went on to once again state my A-day or my reserve day start date to be between the 1st of the month to the 16th of the month. I personally prefer my reserve period to be in the first 2 weeks of the month than the last 2 weeks of the month. So that's why I put that in there. And lastly, as usual, I add avoid domestic trips. The whole goal is to ask the system to give me the highest credit trips, and TOs or international trips are that. So those are the things that I bid for. And let's see, what did I get? Did I get something worth talking about, or scheduling try to play me? When schedules were released, the first thing is that I had a carry-in trip, in the sense that I had some hours from a trip that overlapped into January. So I have a trip on the 30th of December to the 1st of January. So part of the credits for that trip bled into January. So essentially our schedule or our bid period differs. It's not always the 1st of the month to the last day of the month. Like for January, for example, our bid period is between the 1st of January to the 30th of January, even though January is from the 1st to the 31st. Yeah, so I had 6 hours bled into January. So starting off with January 2024, I already had 6 hours sitting there for me already. If the system wanted to schedule me for anything, it had to factor in that the 6 hours that I had from December coming into January. So that's what we start off with. That's why you see that 6 hours there. So then what I actually got scheduled for the month of January, excluding what I came in with from December, was a 3-day trip between the 4th to the 6th of January. And then I had my reserve days following that from the 7th to the 9th. And then I had 2 days off, which is the 10th and 11th. And then from the 12th to the 14th, I had a 3-day trip assigned as well, followed by reserve from the 15th to the 17th of January. So that's what I got. And the credit value of these trips, the first 3-day trip that I had between the 4th and the 6th is worth 20 hours and 19 minutes, sitting at a monetary value of $846.18, followed by my reserve period, which is worth 14 hours and 15 minutes, with a monetary value of $481.80. And the other 3-day trip that I had between the 12th and the 14th, which has a credit value of about 16 hours and 12 minutes. The monetary value, I did miss that, but this is a rough estimate, which is about $660, followed by my reserve period again, which is $481.80, sitting at 14 hours and 15 minutes. So this is what I had. So in total, including the 6 hours and 28 minutes that I entered January from December with and everything, my hourly total schedule value was set at hour-wise was set at 71 hours and 29 minutes. And the monetary value was set at $2,824.94 with 17 days off. So essentially what that means is that right when schedules were released, I got the bare minimum of schedule value. Remember when I said in the beginning that our schedule value was set at 77 hours with a variance of 6 hours, which meant that the minimum I could be scheduled for was 71 hours and the maximum I could be scheduled for was 83 hours. As you can see in the pic that I showed you, it shows that my hourly schedule value is 71 hours and 29 minutes, which means I got literally the minimum schedule value for the month of January. This is one of the reasons why I always say with this job, if you want to do something else, you can do it. I'm already getting scheduled at 70 something hours, y'all. Just 70 something hours. Whereas a typical 9-to-5 job is 160 hours. And my days off for the month are 17 days off. And as you can see, the system gave me essentially, well, not all of it. It wasn't necessarily fully granted because I wanted my reserve days to be between the 1st and the 16th. And I actually got my reserve days being on the 7th to the 9th and on the 15th to the 17th. Also, the other thing was that I wanted high credit 3-day trips and I did not get that. I was only granted one time and not twice, even though I got 2 3-day trips. As you can see, the 3-day trip that I got on the 12th to the 14th was worth 16 credit hours. And before I move on to show you all what I did and the changes that I made, I did want to also say that this is something that I forgot to mention in the beginning of what I requested for. I also bid for specific trips as well. So I reviewed our bid package and went in to bid for specific rotations as well. And when I was bidding for those specific rotations, my goal was that even if all the things that I mentioned earlier that I was requesting for from the scheduling system, if I didn't get any of them, at least these are the other rotations that you can give me. And this time around, I was aiming for like Hawaii layovers or even long layovers to our TOs or international destinations or whatever. And I do get it that when you're junior, you might not get those trips, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Me asking for it does not take anything away than me not asking for it and potentially having the potential of getting scheduled it. So I would rather ask for it and not get it than not ask for it and probably miss the opportunity of potentially getting scheduled that trip that I wanted. But as you can see, I did not get anything. So this is one of the realities of this job. When people say you might not get these beautiful layovers or these fun layovers that you want when you're junior, because other senior people are able to hold that and they bid for it and they get it. So that's the downside, or that's one of the disadvantages of the whole thing. But at the end of the day, my ultimate goal at the end of the day is that if I won't get the layovers that I want, then give me the highest credit trip as possible or give me fewer trips as possible so that potentially I can pick up those other trips as well. What were the changes that I made? I won't say I did a lot. I didn't really do that much to my schedule, y'all, but just move a few things around. So the first thing I did was to post the 3-day trip that I had that was 16 hours. And surprisingly, it got picked up in minutes. Like, I posted that trip, and by the time I went back to my schedule, the trip had disappeared. It wasn't really a bad trip. It's just that I didn't care for it, and the credit was not worth my time. Like I said, if we're going to be outside, it needs to be worth our time. Okay, that's all I have to say. So that freed up my schedule. Because of that, I was able to move my 8 days. I reached out to someone who was looking to swap their 8 days for a different set of days. So I swapped my 8 days on the 15th to the 17th to the 11th to the 13th. So then I ended up having my 3-day trip from the 4th to the 6th, 8 days between the 7th to the 9th, a day off in between, and then I had another set of 8 days or reserve days between the 11th and the 13th. The reason why I put that day off in between is because even though having 6 days straight gets your reserve period over and done with, that anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen for 6 days straight is too much. I'm sorry, I can't. I've tried a couple of times, but I'm out. I can't deal with it. And I like to have that break in between so that I'm not at the mercy of scheduling for at least 24 hours. And this is why I always say, to an extent, once your schedules are released, you have some control over your schedule, y'all. It's not fixed. It's not a constant. You can make moves and move things around. And this is what I was able to do once I was able to move my reserve days to a different period or set of days. Immediately, I saw this 2-day trip, which is on the 21st to the 22nd, which was worth 15 hours. And I picked up that trip immediately as well because it's for 2 days and it's worth almost a 3-day trip. But then when I went on a swap board, I picked up a 3-day trip between the 17th to the 19th and then the 24th to the 26th. It's actually the same rotation, worth the same amount of credits, which is 21 hours and 32 minutes, 3 days, and it's worth $879.57. So that's all I did. I moved my 8 days and picked up these 3 additional trips on my schedule and got rid of the initial 3-day trip that I had scheduled. So that's all I did. I did not really do much. I still do plan on picking up a trip for the 30th so that it carries into the month of February like I did in December. But for now, I'm going to leave those days open and free. I know in the past, in one of my schedule reaction video, I mentioned that I try to leave as many days off so that as the day goes by, I pick up trips as they pop up. But these days, it's become apparent, at least in my base, that sometimes you can't find anything when the days are coming by. Let's say I'm waiting until let's say the 10th or whatever so that I can pick up something for the following week, which is the 14th to the 20th. It's hard to get trips during that moment because I've noticed that people have been waiting till like the very last minute to get rid of their trips, which is not beneficial to me because I am not that person to just get up and just go to work for 3 days or whatever. I need time to prep. So because I noticed that these days, once schedules are released, I know a lot of people are trying to get rid of their trips, so I pick up whatever I can then as good. I try and pick up good trips in the moment as much as I can to potentially fill up my schedule a bit. That way, even if down the line I don't want it, I know it's a good trip, so somebody will potentially take it from me. So moving on. So the total hourly value of my schedule right now, remember, I was scheduled 71 hours from our system right when schedules were released. I got rid of a trip, I picked up a few trips, and now my total hourly value for my schedule is at 113 hours and 24 minutes. And the monetary value is sitting at $4,541.63 with 12 days off. So initially I had 17 days off because I picked up some few trips. Now I have 12 days off and my monetary value has gone up from $2,000 to over $4,000. These monetary values do not include my boarding pay or any other additional pay that I might receive while I'm actually working the trip. So keep that in mind. It is not the end all be all. It's potentially going to get over that amount. Also, it does not include me getting scheduled on my reserve days. The reserve monetary values that you see are guaranteed pay. So if I don't get used on my reserve days, the $481 that you see is the only amount I will earn. If I do get scheduled and that trip is more credit, obviously I'm going to get more than the $481. So this $4,541 that you do see here has a high potential of of changing, but this is where I'm sitting at right now. And typically this is what I do now, since I started this since November, where I try and fill up my schedule with a good amount of trips to put me at about $4,500, because I know that working on reserve, if I get flight lead, sales, all that additional pay and boarding pay would increase that amount to an extent, putting me closer to 5,000, if not more. That is it. That is it for the month of January. I am all set. I have about $4,500 to earn for the month of January. So your girl is cool for now, because I know it's going to change. And if I do see anything that I want, I can potentially pick up a cute turn. Right now, if I'm going to pick up any 3-day trip, it would have to be on the 30th leading into February. I won't pick, if I have to pick up anything in between what I currently have, it would be a turn. No 2 days, none of that. Moving forward, I do want to end this schedule reaction video by saying that I had an experience, y'all. So I have been traveling. Ever since I started flying, like I said, I've been on the line for like 8 months now, y'all. And I've been to Atlanta like several times. And Atlanta's airport is huge, it's big, it's busy, people everywhere. And ever since I started flying, I've had people constantly say that they avoid going there if they can. Like, people actively put on their schedule, request that whatever layovers, whatever flying they have to do for the month, it should not touch that city, not at all. And for me, as you all know me, when I start, I give things the benefit of the doubt. Like, I try things out. Even when people would say they don't like working with other people, I know in the industry people have like their own no-fly list among other things. I don't do that. I feel people out, because I am of the opinion that your energy just might not match with someone else's energy, and it's one of those things where you have to give them a try, because maybe the person you spoke to had a bad experience with that individual, but it's probably because they just did not mix well. Like, their energies just did not blend or come together the way it should. That's why they had whatever experience they had. But I always tell you all that, like, give people and things the benefit of the doubt, because your experience might be different. So when I started, I had no intentions of avoiding going here, doing this and doing all that. As long as I'm earning my money, that's all I care about, and getting the days off that I want. That's all I care about. However, and like I was saying, I have been to Atlanta a few times. I've done turns to Atlanta. I've done trips. I think I've only laid over one time there, aside from during training when I was there. But in terms of working out of the airport, I've touched the airport several times. And I've seen several things happen, but 3 times it had actually been close, not necessarily to me, but either passengers or customers or whatever, or even my own colleagues, like people that I'm working with. And this 3rd time for me was like the last strike. Like, I was like, no, I can't go to work and meet hostility the whole time. Like, I don't want to go to an airport and be scared to talk to anybody or to talk to a colleague at that airport, because I'm not sure what energy I'm going to get. Because every single time I have observed them interacting, some of them interacting with us or passengers or whatever, or customers or whatever, it's always a negative energy. It's like a hostility that comes with it, right? So for me, ever since I started, once I noticed the trend, because like I said, I've seen it happen several times. I've heard stories of it happen several times. But then I've seen it twice where it's just not being nice, you know? So whenever I go there, my motto was, I don't talk to anybody. I don't speak unless I'm spoken to, and I don't engage. I'm just present and in place and just doing my job. Like, I don't interact unless I'm spoken to. I don't say anything. I don't make a move unless the person makes a move, because I don't want to do anything to set anybody off, because I don't know where you are and I don't know what I'm dealing with. Okay, so that's always, ever since I noticed the first 2 things happen, that's been my intent when I go, or whenever I touch Atlanta. That's how I operate. And I just go, I greet, I scan, I go. I don't, none eye contact, avoid it, just mind my business, and I just get on the aircraft, because that's where my job starts. And I do have to share this, because like I come to you all with the real. I'm just being honest. Like, I don't like negative energy surrounding me, and I don't want to go to a place or go to a portion of my work where I'm afraid to talk to somebody, because I don't know how they're going to react, or how the response is going to be. And that's been my experience in Atlanta so far. And the last straw was like, I was over it. No, I'm not. I can't go to work with this hostility. Like, I come from Seattle. The plane lands, we're coming off the aircraft like all happy, laughing, doing whatever we're doing, and then we get out there into the airport and you meet your own colleagues, like literally in the same uniform as you. I thought we were all on the same page. Like, regardless of whether you're an agent, whether you're a red coat, or whether you're a flight attendant, to me, we're all equal. We're all the same. We're all, And so because I have been to other airports where our colleagues there are super sweet, super nice, regardless of how bad things are going. The response is super chill, like very welcoming. But then every time I have gotten, I wouldn't say every time, because I met this gentleman at Atlanta and he was so sweet. He was super, super sweet. Our passengers were like hitting him. It wasn't his fault. Like, it was not even his fault. It was a weather situation, and they were giving it to him, man. But kudos to that gentleman. He was super sweet. His mood was super nice. He was actually telling me on the aircraft that they were chewing him up, and then when we showed up, they were all acting nice and everything. But that guy, I don't remember his name, but he was super sweet. And I was like, he was just super sweet, super nice, regardless of how bad things were and people were hitting him with negativity and anger. But that being said, beyond that experience, every single time I've worked out of Atlanta or I've had to do something out of Atlanta, it's always hostility. Like, it's just like anger. I don't know what the issue is, and I get it that we do as frontline workers and people. I've been in customer facing positions where I've seen passengers throw things like pour coffee on people, pour coffee on my coworkers simply because we said no, or like we've dealt with a lot of anger and disrespectful people. But at the end of the day, I don't want to go to work being on defense the whole time. My motto is, I give you the benefit of the doubt, wait for you to disrespect me, and then I will choose whether I'm going to match that energy or just rise above it. So me having that intent, I don't expect people that I work with to come at me with negative energy when we haven't even started. You haven't even heard anything from me. So whenever I go to Atlanta, I wait until I'm spoken to. I don't initiate anything because I don't want to offend anybody, because I don't know where they are. And I don't want to work like that. That's too toxic for me. I can't do that, because you haven't even heard anything from me. You haven't even looked at me to start off with, and you're already starting off with attitude. And I'm too grown for that. I might look 15. I might look 25, but I'm not 25. I'm too grown for that. Life is too short to be harboring so much anger and disrespect and hostility in your heart. So I said all this to say that officially, whenever I'm bidden, I would avoid flying to Atlanta. Like, I get it, it's our headquarters, and I have to go there someday when we're doing my final 1-year anniversary with the company. But that's about it. Anything that has to do with Atlanta, count me out. If I get it on my reserve days and I'm not able to get somebody to pick up that trip from me, I'm gonna work it and still continue with the plan that I have. I don't speak until I'm spoken to. I go there, I greet, I scan, I get on the aircraft. That's about it. But to be scheduled for a trip or a rotation that includes me touching the airport and having to get off the aircraft, I'm not doing it again. We're peacefully avoiding. And I've heard so many people share negative experience from doing business or having to go through Atlanta, and it's so embarrassing, because at the end of the day, people forget that we were all new at some point. I'm new. I don't know everything. So even if I'm doing something wrong or somebody's doing something wrong, there's a way to correct somebody, or there's a way to show somebody something without necessarily being hostile, without being disrespectful, without just belittling people. And I feel like that happens a lot whenever I go to Atlanta, and I just have to say something, because it's just too much, and we're too grown to be acting like this. I'm officially not bidding anything that includes Atlanta. Get somebody else to do it. I'm gonna avoid it. If I get it on my reserve days, it's unfortunate, I get it. But anything that involves me getting off of the aircraft and having to interact with any personnel at that airport, I'm not. I can't do it. It's too negative. I can't do it. Like, I get it. Your work won't be perfect. You're gonna have ups and downs. You might not like everybody, but to have this thing happen consistently, and it's not even to me. Honestly, all the times that I've seen these things happen, it hasn't been me directly, or it hasn't been me, except for this last time that it was. But then it's just one of those things where it's like going to work and constantly seeing other people being treated badly, or being disrespected, or being belittled, or just being met with hostile energy is too exhausting. And like I've been saying in my other videos, I am choosing the soft life now. I'm not here for drama. I've been working for some time now, and I am at the point where I don't need that. Okay, our job is way too flexible, way too easy to be out here just dealing with negative energy. I would just end all this by saying that just treat people with respect. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't always assume that people are out to get you, or people are out to disrespect you. It's not what it is. And I might not post this section of this video, but but I had to let it out, yo. Like, I had to let it out. I know it's not the company as a whole, because there are some hardworking individuals. I've been to several airports, and our coworkers have been super sweet, super nice, but it's just that particular airport. I don't know what is going on there. Like, it's just that airport. Every single time I get to that airport is negative energy, hostility, whether it be it with passengers, be it with other colleagues. It's just too much hostility. And yeah, maybe it's me, maybe it's my observation, but if you observe something like that at ATL, please let me know. Like, I don't know what the issue is. Maybe people there are just stressing them out, so then they take it out on everybody else who's just coming in. Like, I came from a cold place, okay? I don't know what's going on. I just got here. I don't go here. But yeah, I laugh over it now, because that I don't care. I don't hold on to things like that. But the decision is just final. I want this job to be as easy for me as possible, and I want to go where I am welcomed. So if I'm not welcome, I'm not going to show up there. And that's where I am with Atlanta. So yeah, my next schedule reaction video, when I start talking about the things that I'm avoiding, or the things that I bid for, Atlanta will be one of them. It's unfortunate, but I have to let it go. I just can't. It's just too much hostility, and I didn't sign up for that. And since this job offers this level of flexibility, I can actively avoid going there unless I'm on reserve and I get it, and that's obviously not my choice. But I don't mind it then. I don't hate it. I just want to minimize the amount of times I go there at this point. I think that's the best way to put it. Yes, I just want to minimize or reduce my presence at that airport. That's about it. Thank you all for watching this schedule reaction. I do have a full playlist on all my schedule reactions from when I started being a flight attendant in the description box below, how I started and where I am right now. It's all there as well, so do check them out. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for hearing me let it out and rant, okay? I appreciate you all. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.